are listening to a podcast created by the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. Our mission is to help you understand your world better through geography. Geography teachers often have special activities for introducing their students to new content. In this podcast, Kathy Miller will explain how she uses her activity entitled A Map Portfolio, a tool for introducing any world region. The supporting materials for this activity may be downloaded from a clickable link near where you found this podcast. This podcast is directed at teachers and students in grades 9 through 12 and addresses several Minnesota geography standards. Kathy Miller is an experienced classroom teacher who has traveled to Russia, Egypt, Syria, Turkey, and Iran. She also lived on a kibbutz in Israel for a summer, and in a different summer she took part in an archaeological dig in the Golan Heights. While teaching at Irondale and Mounds View High School, she taught world areas, world history, and AP European history. She was the Mounds View Teacher of the Year in 1994 and a Minnesota Teacher of Excellence in 1995. I'm Fred Kunze, a member of the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education.
This is an activity, my map portfolio activity is one that we designed as world area teachers to use in connection with any region of the world. The one I've included on this podcast pertains to the Middle East. The purpose of the map portfolio activity is to have students draw on their existing knowledge and to analyze how geography will affect patterns of human settlement and population. It also enables students to learn the vocabulary of geographers, to see a connection between the physical, the economic, and the cultural, and to have students answer the question, can a society sustain itself given its geography? And this activity, I think, does that in a very concise way. I sometimes begin with a short activity that asks kids to create what they would see as the ideal place to live and what are the elements of that before heading into the Middle East as a region. I have included in the activity a reading by Richard Hausman that talks about the significance and the importance of location in development, and it gives students just kind of a good insight before building their own society. The discussion of their perfect society or their geographic setting should ultimately lead to the map portfolio assignment. The product of this assignment is a series of maps that will answer a series of questions. So there will be a climate map, there will be a natural resource and land use map, there will be an elevation and land features map, and there will be a natural hazards map. The material that I used basically was to rely on Good's Atlas. I have also included scorecards, so students would complete, I would allow class time for the assignment to complete a map. Let's say we start with the climate map, and students would then work on that in class, probably finish it at home, but there's also a series of questions that will be used the next day to generate discussion. You can score those as an admit to class. You can just look at them to see if they've thoughtfully, if they've given some thought to this, or you can just rely on them to use that as a jumping off point to talk about it in class. So once they come back with the completed questions, then a class discussion would ensue. The next map would be assigned. They would come the next day with their questions answered. One would hope that they would add information on the backs of their maps or to their answers to help them process all of the information. So it can be a very quick way of scoring them, 5-3-0 if they didn't do it at all, or just based on their discussion. When the students have completed all 4 maps, then they will come to class with their 4 maps finished. Those will be the materials they will use. I hand out a laminated population density map that they will use. And the question that they will be answering as an essay is, using the 4 maps that you have completed and the short essays you've written about each, explain the pattern of human settlement in the Middle East that is illustrated by the population density map. So why do people settle where they do? Also, examine any anomalies that you might see. Are people settled in areas that would seem to defy common sense? And if so, how do you explain those anomalies? I've also provided a rubric for scoring the essay question. So in the end, they've been scored on 4 maps. They have their essay, and they've got a pretty good understanding of of the geography of the region.
You have been listening to a production of the Minnesota Alliance for Geographic Education. Background music is courtesy of Jim Hogue of Decorah, Iowa. The Minnesota Alliance is a non-profit group of educators and other parties who are interested in promoting an enhanced understanding of our world through improved geographic literacy.